The music died in the middle of Tayo's wedding reception, and everybody looked toward the MC in a bright Ankara jacket. He grinned into the microphone and pointed at Amina. Cameras turned. Some girls in Jale laughed. "Our harmony-close virgin queen," he joked. 38 and still untouched, make some noise. The crowd roared, and the DJ cut in a drum roll. Amina stood there in her peach Ankara gown, headscarf tied neatly over her natural cornrows. Her brown eyes did not blink. Her hands were steady, but her heart shook. The MC walked closer with the mic like it was a spotlight. "Auntie, confirm for Lagos. True or false?" Amina's lips moved. True. The word was small, but the hall heard it. Some people clapped in mock salute, others whistled. A few ladies in gold lace whispered and pointed. One man shouted, "Why are you still single, Ain?" Another laughed, "Is it not shame?" Then came the worst part. A boy from the groom's side held up a toy crown made of plastic pearls. "Give Queen Amina her crown," he said. The MC raised it high as phones recorded. Someone in the corner started a chant, "Virgin! Virgin!" The sound grew like a storm. Amina took one step back. The chant pressed forward. Before the crown could touch her head, a teenage girl burst from the tables, tears on her face. She grabbed Amina's arm. "Leave her alone," she cried. "If you knew what she did that night, you would kneel for her." The hall fell silent. All eyes turned to Amina and the girl, whose blue braids shook with anger. The MC lowered the toy crown, confused. The DJ froze the beat. What night? Who was this girl? Why was she crying? Weeks before the wedding, Harmony Close in Surulere was its usual busy self. Women sold puff-puff by the gate. Okada men argued with gate men. Children played football with a half-flat ball. And in the corner shop with a glass door that didn't close fully, Amina worked her sewing machine. She was 38, tall, dark-skinned, fine-boned. Her hair was natural 4C, plaited into neat cornrows under a light scarf. She wore a simple Ankara wrapper, a clean blouse, and flat sandals. She spoke softly. She smiled easily, but she carried a quiet strength in her back and her eyes. Amina's shop was called Thread Grace. She stitched school uniforms, church outfits, and market aprons. She mended zips, she fixed hems, she measured without stress, and mothers liked how she spoke to their daughters. If a skirt was too short, she would ask the girl, "Do you feel comfortable?" If the girl said no, Amina would add a little length and say, "Comfort is also beauty." Her friends often gathered there, Kemi, loud and playful, with long box braids. Zainab, gentle and fast with gossip, in a tidy hijab, and Kioma, a nurse with a sleek wig and quick eyes. They loved Amina. They also worried for her. "You are 38, Kemi would say, tapping her phone. "I have a cousin. He works in Port Harcourt. He will marry you, no wahala." "I will not marry wahala," Amina would answer with a smile. "If a man does not respect me, I will not follow him." Some evenings, after prayers and after work, Amina walked the close to clear her head. Aunties stopped her. "Amina, time is going. Amina, lower your standards small. Amina, why are you still a virgin at your age? Are you a statue?" She would greet politely and keep walking. She never shouted, but the words sat in her chest like stones. The neighborhood WhatsApp group did not help. One day someone posted a meme. At 38, still pressing sewing machine and not man. Laughter emojis filled the screen. Kemi called Amina angrily. "Who posted that? I will drag them." Amina sighed. "Leave it. The group will forget tomorrow." But the group did not forget. People joked when she passed. Some men greeted loudly, "Good afternoon, Sister Holiness." Teen boys giggled and ran. Even a woman she had helped with free mending whispered, "Is she normal?" That one hurt. Still, there were bright moments. Amina ran a small Saturday class in her shop for girls. How to sew a straight line, how to do a clean hem, how to speak up kindly. One of the girls was the blue-braided teenager from the wedding named B.C. She was 15, sharp and quiet. She came with loose blouses and eyes that watched the door too much. Amina noticed. She made space for B.C. near the window where there was light and safety. She praised small progress. She gave the girls snacks. She told them the same thing each week, in simple words. Your body is your own. You can say yes. You can say no. You choose. 2 weeks to the wedding, the groom's mother came to Thread Grace for last-minute fittings. Amina, my daughter-in-law needs 5 satin headbands by Friday, she said. Also, you must come to the wedding and enjoy. You work too much. Amina smiled and nodded. She respected the family. They had been kind customers for years. On the wedding morning, Amina dressed carefully. Peach Ankara gown, fitted but modest. A soft brown shawl, minimal makeup, clean sandals. She pinned her scarf over cornrows and checked her mirror. She looked like herself. She took a gift, 2 embroidered pillowcases, neat and lovely. She sent a prayer up without words and left. The reception was loud and bright. Canopies lined the compound. The DJ shouted blessings over amapiano beats. The bride glowed in white lace. Aunties danced with small steps, gold gel shining. Amina found a seat near the back with Kemi, Zainab, and Kioma. You look fine, Kioma said, taking pictures. Kemi teased, any man who sees you today will propose. Just wait. They laughed. Through the afternoon, the MC made jokes, some funny, some not. He picked on people who were shy. He asked rude questions and called them games. When he started asking married women to raise their hands, then single women to stand, Amina's friends stiffened. I don't like this, Zainab whispered. Ignore him, Amina said softly. He is only talking. But the MC's eyes found Amina, maybe from all the phone gossip. He called her name with a big show. Our own Amina, business owner, seamstress of Harmony Close. The crowd turned like a wave. He walked toward her with that silly crown. Kemi stood up, angry. Leave her, abeg. Relax, friend. The MC laughed. We are celebrating purity. Is purity not good? He winked at the crowd. Laughter rose, sharp and thin. Then he asked the question and Amina answered. True. The phones jumped higher. The chant began. Virgin, Virgin. Someone recorded live for the WhatsApp group. Her friends tried to shield her, but the circle had already formed. The toy crown hung above her head, cheap pearls shining in the sun. And BC ran. BC had been serving water at the family table, trying to be useful. When she heard the chanting, something snapped. She saw Amina's calm face under that crown and remembered a dark corridor weeks ago, a locked door, a voice telling her to keep quiet, or else. She remembered a knock that saved her, a firm voice that said, open this door now. She remembered Amina's arms around her when the door finally opened. She remembered the hospital light, the careful questions, the policewoman who listened because Amina would not be silent. So BC ran. She burst through aunties and uncles, through clapping hands and shocked whispers. She caught Amina's arm and faced the crowd. Leave her alone. Her small chest rose and fell. If you knew what she did that night, you would kneel for her. The hall froze. The MC's smile fell. The DJ's hand hovered over the mixer. Mothers pulled their wrappers closer. Fathers stopped chewing meat. Eyes moved from Bissy's wet face to Amina's steady eyes, then to the head table where a certain man in a shiny agbada swallowed hard and looked away. What night? Someone asked, soft. What is she saying? Bissy's voice shook but did not break. Tell them, she said to Amina. Please. Amina looked at Bissy. She looked at the crowd that had just mocked her. She looked at the shiny agbada again. The toy crown trembled in the MC's hand. The room held its breath. Amina opened her mouth. Amina opened her mouth, but before a single word could fall, the man in the shiny agbada shot up from his chair. His face glistened with sweat. though the hall was filled with cool evening breeze. He shouted, "Enough of this nonsense. This is a wedding, not a courtroom." He forced a laugh, but his voice cracked. Some people chuckled nervously. Others stared harder. The MC tried to recover, lifting the toy crown again. "And let us not spoil the mood. Virginity is not a crime. It is—" "Put that crown down." Kemi's voice boomed from the back, louder than the speakers. She shoved through the crowd, box braids flying, eyes burning. "Do you think this is funny? Do you know what Amina has done for this community? Do you even know the truth?" Her voice shook with fire. The MC dropped the crown like it burned him. Bissy clutched Amina's arm tighter. "Tell them," she begged again, her small hand trembling. The eyes of the neighborhood locked on Amina. Mothers pressed their children closer. Some aunties whispered, "What is this girl talking about? Which truth?" The Agbada man's lips trembled. He tugged his cap lower, muttering. But Amina raised a steady hand. Her voice was soft, but it sliced through the silence. "This is not the place," she said, "but since you all want to know, that night—" Suddenly, a shrill scream cut her off. From the far side of the hall, a woman collapsed, shaking violently. Her heel slipped as she convulsed on the floor. People rushed, chairs clattered. The DJ screamed into the mic, "Doctor, nurse, anybody here?" Kioma, the nurse among Amina's friends, threw off her wig and ran forward with her medical kit. The crowd split in panic. The wedding turned into chaos. Some people cried, others shouted. The groom's mother fainted, her satin headscarf slipping. The bride's veil ripped as she stumbled to hold her. And in the middle of it all, the man in Agbada slipped quietly toward the exit, face pale, steps quick. Amina's eyes caught him. Her chest tightened. She knew this moment was not accident. The collapse, the scream, the sudden distraction. It was too neat, too convenient. She held Bissy's hand, steadying the girl, and whispered, "Do not let go." But before she could move, Kioma's voice rang out, "She's been poisoned! This woman has poison in her system!" Gasps spread like wildfire. Poison? At a wedding? Who would do such a thing? Heads turned. Panic grew. And the Agbada man was almost gone. Kemi pushed forward to Amina. "Should we follow him?" she hissed. "Or help Kioma?" Amina's eyes darted between the convulsing woman and the fleeing man. Her throat tightened. The hall buzzed with fear. Every second mattered. And then Bissy whispered something only Amina could hear. "It's him. The man in Agbada. He was there that night too. He knows." Amina's body went cold. The truth was larger, darker than she thought. If he escaped, Bissy's courage tonight would mean nothing. But if she stayed, she risked losing the only chance to protect Bissy forever. She stood frozen in that choice. Crowd screaming, poison spreading, and the man slipping into the night. The wedding hall split into two storms. One around the convulsing woman, another around the exit where the man in Agbada was sneaking away. Amina's eyes darted. Her pulse raced. Bissy's hand clung to hers like a lifeline. "Amina!" Chioma shouted from the ground, pressing 2 fingers against the woman's neck. "I need activated charcoal. I need water. Somebody help me." The crowd was useless. People screamed, ran in circles, or pulled out phones to record. Amina's chest tightened. If she let the man escape, the secret would remain buried. But if she left Kioma, an innocent woman might die in front of everyone. Kemi pushed close, box braids wild. "I'll go after him," she said, eyes blazing. "You stay with Kioma." Without waiting for an answer, she stormed toward the door, shoving through guests, sandals slapping the tiled floor. "No!" Amina called out, fear spiking. But it was too late. Kemi vanished into the night after the Agbada man. Meanwhile, Chioma wrestled with the poisoned woman. Zainab was crying, holding the woman's legs. "She's foaming at the mouth, Kioma. Oh God, what do we do?" Amina dropped to her knees. Calm, steady. She grabbed a bottle of water, tilted the woman's head, and tried to flush her mouth while Kioma mixed the charcoal with force. The guests gasped, muttering prayers. The bride sat in a corner, veil torn, sobbing into her mother's hands. And then, the woman's body jerked one last time. She coughed, gagged, and vomited black liquid across the floor. People screamed. But Kioma shouted, "Good! She's breathing! She's alive!" Relief broke like a flood, but fear still gripped the room. Who had poisoned her? Why? While the crowd pressed forward, Amina turned to Bisi, who was trembling. "Stay behind me," she whispered. "You are safe." But Bisi's tear-streaked face lifted, and her voice shook. "Safe? Auntie, you don't understand. He will not stop. That man in Agbada, he was the one that locked me in the back room that night." The hall went silent again. People froze. "What?" an auntie whispered. "Which man?" Another hissed. "The one that just ran out." The MC stammered, dropping his mic. No, this cannot be true." But the whispers turned to shouts. Who was he? Why did he run? What happened that night? All eyes turned back to Amina. Her face was calm, but inside her heart thundered. She stood slowly, helping Bisi to her feet. Her voice was steady as she said, "You all mocked me for being single, for being a virgin at 38. But none of you knew why. None of you knew what I was protecting, not just myself, but your daughters." The hall buzzed with confusion. The truth trembled at the edge of her lips. And then, Kemi's voice screamed from outside, a piercing cry that froze every spine. "Amina, he has a knife!" The crowd gasped. Zainab dropped her phone. Kioma looked up, horror in her eyes. Bisi clutched Amina's gown, shaking. Amina's chest burned. The choice was gone. The danger was here. She gathered her shawl, stepped forward, and headed for the door. The night outside was waiting. The compound outside the wedding hall was lit with strings of colored bulbs and headlights from parked cars. Drums still beat faintly from inside, but here, the night air smelled of sweat, dust, and danger. Amina burst through the doorway, her peach gown brushing against the rough floor. Bisi clung tightly to her hand. Ahead, Kemi stood frozen, box braids whipping in the breeze, her chest heaving. A few feet from her, the Agbada man held a long silver knife. His Agbada sleeves flapped as he tightened his grip, eyes darting left and right like a cornered animal. Guests who had followed outside gasped and shrank back, whispering. "Stay back!" the man barked, his voice cracking. "Nobody move!" He slashed the knife in the air and the crowd stumbled backward. Kemi's lips trembled, but her voice rose, shaking with rage. "Coward! You dare to mock Amina, then run like a thief? Tell them what you did that night." The man's face twisted, sweat glistening on his dark skin. "Shut up!" he roared. "One more word, and I swear." He jabbed the knife forward. Amina stepped out from the crowd. Her cornrows gleamed under the light. She pulled Bisi behind her, her own heart pounding like a drum, but her eyes were steady. "Put it down," she said firmly, her voice carrying like a command. "You cannot hide anymore." The crowd murmured. "What is happening? Is it true? Which night are they talking about?" The man laughed bitterly. "You think they'll believe you, Amina? You, the woman they call Virgin Queen? They mock you every day. You are nothing to them." Amina took another step forward. "Nothing?" Her voice rose. "If I were nothing, why are you afraid of me speaking? Why did you run?" His eyes darted. The knife wavered. Bisi's small voice broke the silence. "He's the one who locked me in the storeroom. Shut up!" the man shouted, lunging forward. Gasps tore through the crowd. Bisi screamed. Kemi cried out. But in that split second, someone else moved. Kioma. She had followed outside quietly, barefoot, her nurse's bag still slung across her shoulder. She grabbed a long wooden pole from a canopy stand and swung it with the force of a hammer. It struck the man's wrist. The knife flew from his hand, spinning across the ground. He yelled in pain, clutching his arm. The crowd erupted. Some men rushed forward, pinning his arms. Others shouted, "Call the police! Tie him up!" A dozen phones flashed, recording everything. B.C. collapsed into Amina's arms, sobbing. Kemi sank to her knees, shaking. Kioma stood tall, pole still in her hand, breathing hard. The man spat on the ground, wild-eyed. "You think this ends with me? You don't know who you're fighting!" His words sent a chill through the crowd. If he wasn't acting alone, who else was involved? And what was he protecting so desperately that he'd risk murder at a wedding? The police sirens wailed faintly in the distance, growing louder. Guests whispered, "So it's true?" Amina knew? What really happened that night? The Agbada man struggled, but the men held him down. His eyes locked on Amina, venom burning. "If you speak, you will regret it. They will all regret it." Amina's chest rose and fell. She tightened her grip on BC and whispered softly, "No, it's you who will regret it. Tonight, the truth begins." The sirens drew closer. The crowd tensed, waiting. The truth hovered in the air, heavier than the humid night. And then, from the back of the crowd, another voice rang out, deep, commanding. "Leave him. He belongs to me." Every head turned. A tall figure in a dark caftan stepped into the light. His face was partly shadowed, but those who recognized him gasped and bowed their heads. He wasn't just another guest. He was someone powerful, someone untouchable. Amina's breath caught in her throat. She knew this man, and if he was here, then the web of secrets was wider than she feared. The night air shifted when the tall man in the dark caftan stepped forward. His presence swallowed the chaos. Guests who had been shouting moments ago grew silent, whispering nervously. Some even stepped back as though the ground itself had changed beneath them. "Adekunle," Amina whispered, her voice almost breaking. The name rippled through the crowd. Adekunle Balogun, wealthy businessman, landlord to half of Harmony Close, chairman of the Community Development Council. He was respected, feared, and connected to powerful people in Lagos. His caftan shimmered faintly under the colored bulbs, and his polished shoes clicked against the concrete as he walked closer. "Leave him," Adekunle repeated, his deep voice cutting like steel. "That man is mine." The crowd shifted uneasily. The men holding the Agbada man looked at each other. One loosened his grip. The Agbada man smirked through his pain, as if salvation had arrived. Amina stepped forward, placing BC behind her, her eyes locked on Adekunle's. "He tried to hurt a child. He poisoned a woman. He mocked me before the whole neighborhood. And you say he is yours?" Adekunle's face remained calm, unreadable. "There are things you don't understand, Amina. Things better left in the dark." "No!" Kemi shouted, box braids sticking to her sweaty face. "We understand enough. That man locked BC in the storeroom, and now you're protecting him?" Gasps tore through the crowd. Mothers pulled their children closer. Some men exchanged looks, uncertain whether to hold or release the Agbada man. Adekunle's eyes flicked to Kemi, sharp and warning. "Young lady, be careful with your tongue. Words can destroy families, destroy lives." "Good!" Chioma barked, still gripping the wooden pole she had swung earlier. "Maybe some families need destroying if this is what they hide." The Agbada man laughed bitterly, cradling his bruised wrist. "You see? You cannot touch me. Not when my brother stands here." Brother. The word cracked like thunder in the silence. The crowd gasped again. Adekunle's jaw tightened, but he did not deny it. The Agbada man, his name finally shouted by someone in the crowd, was Alhaji Bashir Balogun, Adekunle's younger brother. BC whimpered behind Amina. "He's lying, right? He's not your brother?" But Amina's heart sank. She knew the truth. Years ago, she had seen the Balogun brothers together, powerful, untouchable, laughing at the weakness of others. Back then, she had kept her distance. Now the truth was standing in front of her, blade still glistening on the ground. Adekunle turned back to the crowd. This is a family matter. It will be handled. His words carried authority, but they rang hollow. Too many eyes had seen. Too many ears had heard. Amina's voice rose, strong and unshaken. No, this is not just family. This is community. This is justice. Tonight, everyone will know what you both tried to bury. The crowd roared with murmurs. Some nodded. Others shook their heads, torn between fear of Adekunle and faith in Amina. The police sirens grew louder, echoing down the street. Adekunle's calm mask slipped for the first time. His eyes narrowed. Think carefully, Amina. You speak, you make enemies you cannot fight. You stay silent, you live in peace. B.C. tugged at Amina's gown, eyes pleading. Don't be silent. Not again. Amina's chest heaved. The night had become heavier than stone, but her decision burned clear in her eyes. She opened her mouth to speak. But just then, the police van screeched into the compound, lights flashing red and blue. Officers jumped out, rifles slung over shoulders. One barked, "What is happening here? Who is causing trouble?" All eyes turned to Amina. The truth balanced on her tongue. Adekunle's stare was a warning. Bashir's smirk was a threat. The crowd's eyes begged for answers. This was the moment. If Amina spoke now, nothing would ever be the same again. Should I let Amina reveal the full truth in front of the police and the entire community? Or should a shocking twist interrupt her again? The red and blue lights painted the compound in harsh colors, sirens cutting into the heavy silence. The officers stepped forward, boots pounding, eyes sweeping the crowd. One officer, tall and muscular with a stern face, raised his hand. "Who is in charge here?" he barked. Adekunle moved first. Calm, commanding, his caftan swaying as though he owned the ground beneath his feet. "I am," he said. "Adekunle Balogun. This was just a small family quarrel. It is under control." The crowd shifted uneasily. Mothers murmured. Young men clenched their fists. But the officer paused, recognizing Adekunle's name. His tone softened. "Balogun? Ah, sir. If you say it is settled, then—" "No!" Amina's voice cracked like a whip, slicing through the night. She stepped into the center of the compound, Bissy clinging to her side. Her peach Ankara gown glowed faintly under the lights. Her eyes burned, unflinching. "It is not settled. That man," she pointed straight at Bashir, still kneeling on the ground, "tried to harm this child. He poisoned a woman. He threatened us with a knife. And this one," her finger cut to Adekunle, "is protecting him because they are brothers." The compound erupted. Gasps, shouts, cries. Phones rose higher, capturing every word. The officers froze, caught between the weight of Adekunle's influence and the fire in Amina's truth. Adekunle's calm mask cracked. His eyes blazed. "Amina!" he thundered. "Enough!" But Bissy's small, broken voice rose, trembling yet sharp. "It's true. He locked me in the storeroom that night. He tried to—" Her words cracked with sobs. "If Amina hadn't come, I wouldn't be alive." The crowd exploded. "Ha! Jesu! This is wickedness!" Mothers pulled daughters closer, glaring at Bashir. Some men surged forward, fists raised, but the police blocked them. The tall officer looked shaken. His hand hovered near his rifle. He turned to Adekunle. "Sir, this is serious." Adekunle's nostrils flared. His power was slipping, and he knew it. He reached for one last weapon, fear. He leaned close to the officer, voice low but deadly. "Think carefully. Do you know who you're talking to? Arrest my brother and you will regret it. Your family will regret it." The officer stiffened, torn. Sweat glistened on his forehead. The other policemen exchanged nervous glances. The compound trembled with uncertainty. And then, another voice cut through the noise. Strong, female, fierce. "Officer, don't listen to him. Arrest them both." The crowd parted. An elderly woman stepped forward, tall and commanding, her wrapper tied tight, her headscarf neat and proud. It was Mama Yatunde, the oldest resident of Harmony Close, the one everyone respected. She had seen generations rise and fall, her voice carrying weight heavier than politics. She looked straight at Adekunle. I kept quiet when you bought people's silence. I kept quiet when whispers filled the air, but not tonight. Tonight, we stand with Amina. The crowd roared, emboldened. Yes, we stand with her. Justice! Adekunle's face darkened, fury twisting his features. Bashir's smirk crumbled into panic. The officers wavered, now pushed by the crowd's voice. The tall officer raised his hand. Enough! Both of you, Balogan, Adekunle, and Bashir, you're coming with us to the station for questioning. The compound erupted into chaos. Some cheered, others gasped in disbelief. Adekunle snarled, stepping forward. You don't know what you're doing! Bashir cursed loudly, thrashing as the officers dragged him up. But Amina stood tall, Bissy holding her hand, Kemi and Kioma flanking her sides. Her voice rose above the storm. You mocked me for being a virgin at 38. You mocked me for being single. But today, you will see that my silence was never weakness, it was protection. And tonight, the truth has only begun. The police tried to haul the brothers toward the van, but Adekunle's final words stopped everyone cold. His voice rang with venom and prophecy. You think this ends here, Amina? This is only the beginning. When the truth fully comes out, it will tear this whole community apart. The crowd froze, whispers rushing like wind. What truth? What could be worse than this? Amina's chest tightened. She had won tonight's battle, but Adekunle's words promised a storm still to come. Do you want me to reveal the deeper truth Adekunle is hiding? What he meant when he said it would tear the community apart. The police van's engine rumbled, its lights flashing red and blue across the compound. Bashir cursed as he was shoved inside, thrashing against the officer's grip. Adekunle stood still, towering, his wrists unbound but surrounded by armed men. He looked less like a man under arrest and more like a king waiting to be obeyed. His voice cut through the noise one last time. You all think Amina is your savior? Ha! When the full truth comes out, you'll curse the day she opened her mouth. This community is built on secrets, and one of those secrets lives right under your noses. The crowd erupted. What does he mean? What secret? Tell us now. Mothers clutched their children tighter. Young men muttered angrily. Everyone leaned closer, craving the poison of his words. But Adekunle only smiled, cold and slow, as the officers pulled him toward the van. His silence burned more than his threat. Amina felt the weight of every eye on her. Her gown clung damp with sweat, her shawl slipping. Bissy's small hand trembled in hers. Auntie, what does he mean? The girl whispered. Amina had no answer. Not yet. She only tightened her grip and whispered back, Stay close. Whatever happens, I will not let them hurt you again. The police van doors slammed shut with a metallic bang. The sirens wailed, and just like that, the Balogan brothers were gone, swallowed into the Lagos night. But the storm they left behind was only beginning. Later that night, the compound was nearly empty. Chairs overturned, jollof rice spilled on the ground, the canopy lights swinging in the wind. The wedding was ruined, the bride's veil torn, her joy stolen. Yet no one spoke about the couple anymore. All talk was of Amina, Bashir, and Adekunle. Kemi paced in front of Amina's small shop, anger still burning. You saw the way Adekunle said it? Like he knows something worse. I swear, if he's hiding another crime... Shioma, calmer now, folded her arms. No, he wasn't bluffing. Men like him only smile like that when they're certain. Zainab, who had been mostly quiet, finally whispered, My aunt once told me. There are things about the Balogans. Land they stole. Girls who disappeared, but nobody ever dared ask. What if this is connected? The words hung in the night air, heavier than the silence. Inside the shop, Bisi sat on a wooden stool, her blue braids messy, her eyes red from crying. Amina knelt before her, wiping her tears with the edge of her shawl. "You are safe with me," she said softly. "No one will lock you in a storeroom again." But Bissie's eyes darted to the window, where the shadows moved. Her voice shook. "Auntie, what if Adekunle was right? What if it's bigger than us?" Amina's heart clenched. She thought of her years of mockery, of why she had chosen to remain single, untouched, at 38. It was not only because she was waiting for love, it was because she had seen too much, because she had vowed never to be controlled, never to be owned by men like the Bologans. And now, by defending B.C., she had dragged their buried secrets into the open. Just as the clock neared midnight, there was a knock on the shop's door. Slow, heavy, 3 times. Everyone froze. Kemi grabbed a broomstick. Kioma reached for her phone. Zainab muttered a prayer under her breath. Amina stood steady and opened the door. On the threshold stood Mama Yetunde, the elder who had stood with Amina earlier. But her face now was grave, her wrapper tightly bound, her eyes sharp as a blade. "Young woman," Mama Yetunde said, voice low, "I came because you must hear the truth before the police do. Adekunle was not bluffing. There is something buried in this community, something that will shake us all if it is exposed." Amina's throat tightened. "What is it, Mama?" Mama Yetunde's eyes darted to Bisi, then to the others. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "It is about the children, the missing ones. And the night you saved Bisi is not the first time Bashir has done this. There are others." The shop went silent. The air itself seemed to stop. Kemi's broomstick slipped from her hand. Zainab covered her mouth. Chioma's eyes widened in horror. And Bisi? She burst into tears again, whispering, "I told you, Auntie, he won't stop." Amina's chest heaved. The cliff of truth was right before her, and Mama Yetunde had just pushed her to the edge. The Bologans weren't just mocking her. They weren't just poisoning women or locking girls in storerooms. They were hiding something darker, something that could indeed tear Harmony close apart. The kerosene lamp inside Amina's shop flickered, shadows dancing against the walls. Everyone sat frozen as Mama Yetunde's words lingered like smoke. "It is about the children." Amina's voice trembled as she spoke. "Mama, what do you mean? Which children?" Mama Yetunde looked around the room, her eyes hard. The ones who vanished over the years. Some from Harmony Close, others from neighboring streets. Do you think they all ran away? Do you think they were simply lost? No, they were taken. Gasps filled the small shop. Zainab's hands flew to her mouth. Chioma gripped the edge of her stool so tightly her knuckles turned white. Kemi's jaw clenched, anger simmering in her eyes. Mama Yetunde continued, her voice grave. People whispered, but no one dared to speak. The Balogan family's power runs deep. They buy silence with money, or they crush those who resist. And when parents cried, the police looked the other way. Bisi whimpered, curling into Amina's arms. "Auntie, are you saying what happened to me has happened to others too?" Amina stroked her hair, though her own chest burned with fury. "Yes, my child, but tonight they failed, and now their darkness is coming to light." Kemi slammed her palm on the table. "So all this time, while they mocked Amina, they were hiding something like this? These men are demons. We cannot keep quiet again." Chioma's voice shook, but her words were firm. "If Mama Yetunde is right, then this isn't just about Bashir. Adekunle is neck-deep in it too. That's why he said the truth would tear us apart." Mama Yetunde nodded slowly. "Exactly. Adekunle knows the roots of this evil. And if the police dig deep enough, they will find that many of our leaders, chiefs, businessmen, even officers, have been feeding from the same poisoned pot." The silence in the shop grew heavier. It was no longer just about a poisoned woman or about Amina being mocked. It was about a network of wickedness that stretched far beyond Harmony Close. Suddenly, there was a loud banging on the shop's window. Everyone jumped. Bisi screamed, clutching Amina tighter. "It's me!" A voice hissed from outside. "Kemi, open up! It's Idris!" Kemi ran to the window and pulled it open. Idris, one of the young men from the neighborhood, squeezed inside, his face dripping with sweat. "They're coming," he panted. "Who?" Chioma demanded. "The Balogan boys," Idris gasped. "Not just Bashir's men. Adekunle's supporters too. They're angry you embarrassed him. They're saying Amina should be taught a lesson before morning." The shop erupted in panic. Zainab clutched her hijab. Kemi cursed under her breath. BC sobbed harder. Amina stood slowly, her eyes burning with determination. "So they want to silence me now before the truth spreads." Mama Yatunde's gaze was sharp, unwavering. "Child, you must decide quickly. Either you run tonight and save yourselves, or you stand and fight with the truth. But know this, whichever path you choose, blood will be spilled." The pounding of feet echoed faintly down the street. Voices shouting, sticks banging on the ground. The mob was drawing closer. BC gripped Amina's arm, her voice trembling. "Auntie, please don't let them take me again." Amina pulled her close, her jaw tight. "They will not touch you, not while I breathe." But inside, her heart raced. The truth about the missing children was only beginning to unfold. And now, with the Balogan loyalists marching closer, Amina realized this fight wasn't just about her honor. It was about saving the soul of her entire community. The footsteps grew louder, torches flickering in the distance. Shadows stretched across the dusty street. The mob chanted, "Amina! Amina!" their voices full of rage. Kemi grabbed a stone, her eyes blazing. "If they want war, we'll give them war." Chioma shook her head. "No, we can't fight them like this. We'll be crushed." Mama Yatunde stepped to the center of the room, her presence commanding. "Enough! Tonight we'll decide whether Harmony Close remains in chains or breaks free." She turned to Amina. "The question is simple, child. Will you hide the truth to save yourself, or will you speak it and burn their empire to the ground?" The pounding on the door began, hard, furious. The wood rattled on its hinges. BC screamed. The mob shouted louder. Amina closed her eyes, her breath trembling. She could feel the weight of every mockery, every whisper, every moment of shame she had endured for 38 years. And now, all of it led to this. Her eyes snapped open. Fire burned within them. "Open the door," she said. Everyone froze. "What?" Kemi cried. "Are you mad? They'll kill us." But Amina's voice was steady, unshaken. "Open it. Tonight I will not hide anymore." The door shook violently under the mob's fists. One more strike and it would give way. Amina stepped forward, her hand resting on the handle. The truth was about to explode. The wooden door rattled on its hinges, dust falling from the frame as fists and sticks pounded against it. The mob outside roared Amina's name, their voices thick with anger and fear of the truth she carried. Inside the shop, Kemi grabbed Amina's arm. "Don't do this, they'll tear us apart." Chioma's voice trembled but remained sharp. "Amina, think. You're brave. But bravery without strategy is suicide." BC clung desperately to Amina's gown, her small voice breaking. "Auntie, please, don't let them take me again." But Amina stood firm, her back straight, her cornrows gleaming in the lamp's light. Her eyes held the weight of every year she had endured mockery, shame, and silence. "If I run tonight," she said quietly, "I will run forever, and BC will never be safe." The pounding grew louder. The door was seconds from splintering. Mama Yatunde raised her chin. "Then open it, child. But if you do, remember, your words will be sharper than their weapons. Speak the truth and let it burn." Amina inhaled deeply, then unlatched the bolt. The shop fell silent except for the thunder outside. She pulled the door wide. The mob poured forward, men with sticks, women shouting curses, torches lighting their faces. At the front was Kunle Oho, Adekunle's loyal right-hand man, thick-set with a scar across his cheek. He raised a stick and bellowed, "Where is she? Bring out that shameless woman who disgraced our master." But when he saw Amina standing in the doorway, unflinching, his voice faltered. She looked like a queen in her peach gown, shawl slipping from her shoulders, fire in her eyes. Behind her, the lamp's glow made her seem taller, almost otherworldly. "You came for me," Amina said calmly. "Here I am." The mob hissed and muttered, shifting uneasily. Some raised their sticks, but none stepped forward. Amina's voice rose firm and clear. "You mocked me because I am a virgin at 38. You laughed because I refused to bow to men like your master. But tonight, you will hear why. Tonight, you will know the truth he wanted to bury." The crowd leaned closer, torn between rage and curiosity. "Bashir Balogan," she continued, pointing toward the police van's fading tire marks in the street, "locked this child in a storeroom and tried to destroy her. He has done it before, many times, and Adekunle, your so-called master, has been covering his brother's filth for years." Gasps ripped through the mob. Some men lowered their sticks. Mothers clutched their children tighter. Kunle's face twisted. "Lies! Do not listen to her!" He raised his stick again. "She's trying to divide us." But before he could strike, Mama Yatunde's voice thundered from behind Amina. "Lies? Then where are the missing children, Kunle? Tell their mothers where they went." The crowd erupted with shouts. "Yes! Where are they? What happened to my nephew? Where is my cousin's daughter?" Kunle faltered, his mouth opening, but no words coming. Sweat dripped down his scarred cheek. Amina seized the moment. She pulled Bissy gently forward into the lamplight. "This child is alive today because I refuse to keep quiet. If you silence me, how many more will vanish? How many more daughters will they bury in darkness while you cheer for their lies?" The mob wavered. Some lowered their weapons completely. A woman began to cry. A young man threw down his stick and shouted, "Enough is enough!" But Kunle roared, desperate. "No! Adekunle is our leader. Without him, this street will fall apart. You don't know what you're saying, Amina." "Then let it fall," Amina replied, her voice steel. "Better to rebuild on truth than to live in a palace of evil." The mob exploded into chaos, half shouting for Amina, half shouting for Adekunle. Torches swung, sticks clashed, voices screamed. In the madness, someone hurled a stone. It smashed through the shop's window, scattering glass across the floor. Bisi screamed and ducked. Kioma yanked her back. "It's turning violent!" Mama Yatunde shouted. "Hold the line! Don't let them take her!" But as the crowd surged, a loud blast cut through the night. A gunshot. The street froze. Smoke curled into the air. A man at the back of the mob lowered a pistol, his face hidden under a cap. His voice rang cold. "This ends tonight. Amina dies." The crowd screamed, scattering. Bisi wailed. Kemi grabbed a stool as a shield. The gunman stepped forward, calm, deliberate. And Amina? She did not flinch. She stared at the gunman, her chest rising, her voice firm. "If you kill me tonight, my blood will cry louder than my voice, and your empire will still burn." The gunman cocked the pistol, raising it to her chest. The night held its breath. The crowd held its breath. The pistol glinted under the torchlight, pointed squarely at Amina's chest. The gunman's finger curled around the trigger. Bisi screamed and tried to run, but Amina pulled her back, shielding her small frame with her own body. "Amina!" Kemi cried, tears streaking her face. Kioma's voice cracked. "No, don't do this!" Mama Yatunde's hand shot upward, commanding the mob. "Hold!" she thundered. "Let us see who truly stands in the shadows." But the gunman didn't hesitate. He squeezed the trigger. Bang! The shot rang out, echoing through Harmony Close. The crowd scattered in panic, some diving behind stalls, others clutching their heads. Bisi shrieked, burying her face in Amina's gown. And yet, Amina still stood, untouched. The gunman staggered backward, his pistol clattering to the ground. Blood bloomed across his shoulder. Behind him, the tall police officer from earlier stepped forward, rifle raised. His voice cut through the chaos. "Enough! The law is here!" The officers stormed in, surrounding the mob. Some loyalists dropped their sticks and torches immediately. Others tried to run, but were tackled to the ground. The air filled with cries, curses, and the clatter of boots. The officer pointed at the wounded gunman. "Remove his cap." A young constable obeyed, yanking it off. Gasps erupted across the compound. The man beneath wasn't just any loyalist. He was Inspector Danjuma, one of Adekunle's trusted police allies. The revelation sent a chill through the crowd. "Even the police are theirs?" Someone whispered. "Then who can we trust?" Amina's voice rose, steady and fierce. "You can trust the truth. You can trust courage. You can trust that their empire is falling tonight." The officer who shot Danjuma saluted her with respect. "Madam, you are braver than many men I've served with. The commissioner himself has ordered an inquiry. Adekunle and Bashir will not walk free this time." Cheers broke out. Mothers wept openly, clutching their daughters. Fathers shouted with fists raised. For the first time in years, the fear of the Balogan name cracked like glass. But as the police dragged away the wounded inspector and rounded up the mob's leaders, Mama Yatunde placed a hand on Amina's shoulder. Her voice was soft, almost mournful. "Child, you have done what no one else dared. But know this, truth is a fire. It warms, but it also burns. The secrets of the Balogans will not end with them. When more names surface, this community will shake to its roots." Amina nodded slowly, her eyes on Bisi, who now slept against her side from exhaustion and fear. "Let it shake, Mama. Let it burn. At least then, the children will be safe." Weeks later, Harmony Close was transformed. Police cars patrolled daily. Investigators unearthed hidden storerooms, records of missing children, and evidence of human trafficking tied directly to the Balogan brothers. Prominent names across Lagos fell like dominoes. Amina became a symbol, not of mockery, but of strength. Women from other communities came to her for counsel. Mothers whispered her name in prayers of gratitude. Children saluted her when they passed her shop. But she remained the same Amina. Simple gowns, her cornrows neat under a scarf, her hands busy at the sewing machine. Only now, when people mocked her for being single or untouched, she smiled, unshaken. Because the truth was clear. Her silence had once protected her, but her voice had saved them all. And as Bissy sat beside her one evening, threading a needle, she whispered, "Auntie, they called you Virgin Queen, but to me, you are Warrior Queen." Amina's eyes softened, her hands stilling on the fabric. For the first time in years, she allowed herself a full, unguarded smile. The lesson echoed across Harmony Close and beyond. It is better to stand alone in truth than to sit among many in silence. What do you think of Amina's decision to finally speak out, even when mocked and threatened? Would you have had the courage to do the same? Comment your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic African folktales that teach powerful life lessons.